Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tracking what has to be one of the most incredible journeys in all of biology. Seriously, it's a microscopic marathon against absolutely impossible odds.
So, have you ever wondered how the body manages to build and launch something like 120 million of these microscopic travelers every single day? To figure it out, we're going to follow the life story of just one sperm cell, tracing its path from the very beginning all the way to its ultimate high-stakes mission.
Okay, so our story kicks off deep inside this super specialized factory, the testis. Now, don't picture some big empty warehouse. No, this place is packed with up to 900 incredibly long, tightly coiled assembly lines. They're called seminiferous tubules. And get this, if you were to uncoil just one of them, it could be over half a meter long. Just incredible. So right here, inside these tiny tubes, is where the magic happens. A process called spermatogenesis kicks off. It's really like a biological assembly line. It starts with a basic raw material, a simple germ cell called a spermatogonium, and it meticulously transforms it through all these different stages and refinements until you get the final, highly specialized product.
Now, there's a really critical step in all this, and it's called meiosis. You can think of it as the most important quality control check in the whole factory. See, a normal body cell has 46 chromosomes, but for reproduction, you absolutely have to cut that number in half. Meiosis is what does that job. It makes sure the sperm carries exactly 23 chromosomes so that when it meets an egg, which also has 23, the new embryo gets the perfect set of 46.
And yeah, this is not a quick process at all. We're not talking about a rush job. This whole intricate manufacturing process, from that first basic cell to a fully formed, ready-to-go spermatozoon, takes, on average, about 74 days. That's over 2 months.
So after 74 days, our sperm is finally assembled. But, and this is a big but, it's not ready for its mission yet. Not even close. It's kind of like a soldier who's got all the gear but has zero training. So what's next? Well, it's time for an intensive boot camp to learn its most critical skill.
This boot camp happens in a place called the epididymis. And you're not going to believe this. It's a tube that's about 6 meters, that's almost 20 feet long, all coiled up into this tiny compact space. It's here that the sperm hang out for about 18 to 24 hours, getting those final preparations for the big journey.
And the change that happens here is, well, it's night and day. Before going in, the sperm can't move at all. It's completely non-modal. It just can't swim. But after its time in boot camp, it develops that one absolutely crucial skill, motility. That's the powerful tail movement it's going to need to have any chance of succeeding.
Okay, so our sperm is finally mature. It's got its training, it can swim, but it still can't make the trip by itself. It needs, a transport vehicle. It needs fuel. It needs protection. And that whole package deal, that's what we call semen.
Here's something that might surprise you. The sperm cells themselves, the actual travelers on this mission, they only make up about 10% of the final product. Just 10%. The vast majority of semen is actually this carefully mixed cocktail of fluids that comes from a couple of key support glands.
So, let's talk about this support crew. What do they bring into the party? First up, you've got the seminal vesicles. They provide about 60% of the fluid, and it's this thick stuff that's packed with fructose. That's basically rocket fuel for the sperm. Then the prostate gland pitches in another 30%. This is a thin, milky fluid, and its most important feature is that it's alkaline.
So why is being alkaline so important? Well, it's absolutely vital. Turns out both the male reproductive tract and the female reproductive tract are pretty acidic. And that acid environment basically keeps the sperm dormant, inactive. So this fluid from the prostate comes in, neutralizes all that acid, and raises the pH to the perfect level. And that pH shift is the green light. It's the go signal that activates the sperm and lets them finally start swimming like crazy.
All right, launch sequence initiated. The sperm is activated and on its way. But now comes the final and by far the most dangerous part of the mission, navigating the female reproductive tract. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of millions starting this journey, but only one, just one, can possibly succeed. It is an absolute gauntlet designed to weed out everyone but the very, very strongest.
The moment it enters the female tract, the sperm goes through one last power-up. It's a process called capacitation. The best way to think about it, it's like arming the warhead. Any last inhibitory factors get washed away, the membrane on its head gets thinned out, and a flood of calcium ions comes rushing in, which gives its tail this incredibly powerful whiplash-like motion for that final push.
This final activation is what makes the endgame possible.
It's called the acrosome reaction. When a sperm finally reaches the ovum, the target, it locks on. This binding triggers the release of these super powerful digestive enzymes from a little cap on its head called the acrosome. These enzymes just blast a path right through the ovum's outer defenses, clearing the way for one, and it's so important that it's only one, sperm to get inside and deliver its precious genetic cargo.
So you have to be wondering, who is in charge of all this? I mean, this whole incredibly complex, multi-stage process. Who's the conductor? Well, the entire operation is run from a remote mission control center, the brain. Everything kicks off in a part of the brain called the hypothalamus. It sends out the master signal, a hormone called gonadotropin-releasing hormone, or GnRH for short. And what's really interesting is that it doesn't just flood the system. No, it's released in these very precise pulses, maybe every 1 to 3 hours. That rhythm is actually key to making it all work.
Okay, so that GnRH signal travels to the pituitary gland right nearby, and the pituitary acts like a field commander. It issues 2 critical orders. First, a hormone called LH, which tells specific cells in the testes, hey, start making testosterone. The second order is another hormone called FSH, and its job is to directly stimulate the support cells that are actually nurturing the developing sperm. So when you put it all together, you have this perfect chain of command, right? The brain sends the signal, the pituitary issues the orders, and the testes get the job done. But what's really brilliant is that it's a self-regulating system. It's a feedback loop. The testosterone that's produced actually sends a signal back to the brain, basically saying, okay, we're good, you can ease up a bit. This makes sure the factory's production levels are always dialed in just right. Not too much, not too little.
When you step back and look at the whole thing, from that 74-day transformation inside a microscopic factory, all the way to this perfectly timed hormonal symphony conducted by the brain, the journey of a single sperm is just an absolute marvel of biological engineering. It's incredible, and it really makes you think, right? In a system that is this complex, this precise, what does its fragility tell us about the very delicate balance of our health overall?